in the overall jargon of the planning and building department, it's like your second in command. It's a management position, and for what we pay for it, it has not to date attracted people to apply for it that have the requisite experience and can deliver what is wanted. And I think that we've all benefited from the expertise that Phil Gorney has brought to it, and that shows what the value of experience is. And I think in wanting to get through this project, you want that level of experience. I think that, when we started out, 2 years ago, we didn't necessarily have that. And so things have been moving along on pace in the last year with Phil's assistance. If I don't know what to say except for the time frame that we went over this morning assumes that the chief planner management function is filled, and if you add on a month, then the time frame is off the table. It assumes that these contracts go through, and it does assume that we're starting the water study as of July 1, and it assumes a number of things. And when we talked about the time frames before, on June 10th, it was, trying to provide upfront information so that when this followed on consent, that questions had been answered. I guess the way it's structured for some reason isn't making sense, or maybe it's a long day or whatever. I'm not sure what to say. We need that function fulfilled, and this is the rate that has been paid for that function up until now, for the last year. So there's no change in that. It gives us the level of expertise we have. If you want to look at it for a 6-month period and assume that within that 6 months, we will continue to recruit and be able to find someone, to be hired as a chief planner, that's certainly a possibility.
But I guess my point is, there's such a thing as capacity building, and we haven't done that over the last 10 years. We've always, in the planning area, we've always been understaffed and going out, reaching out to consultants that come in at $60 an hour, then 70, then 80, then 90, and so forth. And it seems to me as an organization, we'll go forward with this, and then next year this time we'll be talking about, well, we still don't have a department head, chief planner, whatever we need here, but this does, by hiring consultants, we're not building capacity, and that's what I guess that's my main concern here. We are going to be just as weak a year from now
and
with this strategy, and I'm raising this strategic question because it's a very expensive strategy, but it's not one that builds the organization so it can deal with the problems we're going to have next year this time, and all of our planning issues are not going to be gone a year from now. I can guarantee you that. A few things I can predict here, but that's one.
But if I could respond to that, we're very aware of the issue of capacity building and the fact that the people we've been able to hire, we've got a very promising intern at this point. We have 2 people on the planning team staff that have a level of expertise that is actually saving us money. The fact is that some amount of the greenhouse gas analysis is being done in-house. The fact is that some amount of the traffic analysis we were able to do in-house. So do we have it as of right this moment? No. Will we have it over the next year? Absolutely. And we're very mindful of that fact that we've got some if you will, younger planners that have come in and that are being kind of trained up. We're aware of that. We also see this particular consultant as someone, Audrey Knight has taught college-level planning classes, so we see her as somebody that, as we identify those staff, can provide some of the mentoring that we're talking about. So that, to us, is an added value. But yes, we agree, capacity building is part of all of this, and the goal is to have a fully functional team when we get through this process.
Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. Just a few comments about perspective. I think David's comments are very apropos regarding building for the future. I hear a lot about, once we're done with all of this, the planning team goes away. no, the planning team doesn't go away. The planning team is really your advanced planning team. And when we're done with the general plan and the UVAP and the housing element and all of those things, the planning team eventually gets reintegrated back into the planning and building department and becomes the advanced planning team, so we don't get in the same mess that we're in right now, and we need to do some good solid homework for the future. I mean, housing elements are due every few years. Local coastal plans have to be updated. There was a problem with capacity, and I hedge that bait, but when I say capacity in Calaveras County, I spent almost 2 years looking for a planning director. They simply didn't exist. Every county in California was out engaged in doing general plans. Everybody was taking longer to do them than they said. There literally was no staff to hire. So all of us went through and tried these different creative solutions. The marketplace is changing right now. The general plans are finally being finished. If you look around surrounding counties, the economy has gone bad. All the consultant work is not necessarily out there. So I think we have an opportunity to increase our capacity, and certainly would recommend that we look for somebody for the future as part of what's going on here. I'm not certain. Supervisor Pinches has talked about we're approving $700,000 today. I don't know if Allison has any comments on exactly what we're approving, but I think we need some clarification there too. I just think that we need to move forward to stay on schedule and build that capacity at the same time, and recognize that this is a long-term planning effort that's going to go away, and the planning team will not go away. And with that, I'll be quiet.
Thank you. Supervisor Pinches?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To get to Supervisor Koufax's point, I remind this board, we have a existing building and planning director that has submitted his resignation. So, we're never going to build up a team. And like you say, eventually the planning team will be blended back into the building and planning department. But if we don't have the ability of hiring somebody for the long term, then we better start growing somebody for the long term. But to just go out to these expensive contracts, as David said, the money's never going to be there because we're spending it all out in contracts. So I don't care if we start with a person that went to work in our building and planning department yesterday and grooming them to learn the job. And my point is, we have a little flexibility in time now. We were trying to, this whole board was basically committed in getting this process wrapped up this fiscal year, or this calendar year. Now it's clearly going into the next calendar year, which basically affects 2 budget cycles, not just one, but 2 budget. So maybe it's the time here to let's take a month and back off a little bit and think of how we look at the big picture here. Because right now we're just running to this goal line. It's called the end of the general plan and UVAP process. Well, it's clearly going beyond this year, so we got a little flexibility in time here. Let's take a month, and maybe we can put some feelers out for, especially at these dollars. I mean, we're talking just outside of the water study, we're talking over $500,000 that we're spending today, or is proposed today. So why don't we just slow up here for a month and make sure that we get the results we want? And the results we want is to have some planners for Mendocino County for the long-term future, and not just, because everything has been stated many times, everything don't end at the end of the UVAP and the general plan update. So now is an opportunity for us to just slow up a little bit, and maybe we can